What does Mexican food, Crazy Rich Asians, a broken sink, and Maya have in common? You guessed it, another episode of Insecure. Hey everyone, this is the Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with another episode of Insecure, Season 4, Episode 3, Low-Key Thankful. This episode was directed by Mark Sadler. So the central theme of this episode is thankfulness, because it is none other than Thanksgiving. But before we can get to that, we actually open with Lawrence in the mirror, and he's practicing the speech. Looks like he's ready to have a conversation with his team about maybe moving to the next level. And we also see Condola, who is asleep, but not for long, because she has a very obnoxious alarm that wakes her up immediately. So they have a little brief conversation in the bed. Lawrence is trying to see if Condola has any plans for Thanksgiving because he has a friend who makes a Hennessy turkey, which is trash, and it sounds trash. Ugh. She's having a Friendsgiving, she already has something she'll be doing with her friends. And so Lawrence is kind of like, oh, did you want me to come? Oh, sure, I didn't think you'd want to come. So it looks like they're gonna have their first official gathering together, and he's gonna get to meet all the friends. Then we jump ahead and we see that it's now 2 months before the block party, and so basically each episode, we started with 4, now 3 last episode, and 2 in this episode. So it looks like we're hopping a month each episode leading up to the block party. We see Lawrence pull up to work, and of course he's all ready to have this speech and conversation. However, the receptionist informs him that they are busy in a meeting, and she kind of has this weird look on her face, and he's like, oh, well, is everything okay? And she does this really awkward, like, why are you lying? I can't stand when people do that. Ain't nothing right. Something is very wrong. One of the investors have actually pulled out of the company, and so that means they're gonna have to let like nearly half of the team go. Thankfully, Lawrence hasn't lost his job yet or anything, but things aren't looking too good. And of course, he shares all this with his good friend, Chad. You guys know how I feel about Chad. So he's talking with Chad, and he's basically, having a conversation about how he's feeling with everything going on. And Chad, can relate because Chad hasn't sold a house in over a month. But, that doesn't matter because he's bought a brand new range. And why? To keep up appearances. Of course. Who cares about your bank account being on struggle and possibly not being able to pay your bills? I don't think the bill collector is going to take appearances. Yeah, things are so bad for Chad that if he's not careful, he'll end up like Bradley Cooper because he fell off at the Limitless. And I'm kind of thinking like, okay, so clearly Chad is not seeing A Star Is Born. Didn't see the whole Oscar campaign that came along with that, his nominations or anything like that. But of course it's Chad, so no. And I have friends like this. It's like, whatever happened to so-and-so? I mean, if you Google, you could see that they're doing just fine, but whatever. We see Issa. She's kicking it at this little coffee shop. Who should walk in but Lawrence? She's watching Finding Jaquan. He takes it upon himself to let her know that, spoiler, they do find him. And so then they have like this little back and forth about spoilers in movies. And coming to America, they went back to Africa. In Love Don't Cost a Thing, things got expensive. And who should walk in at a really bad time? Condola. She kind of walks in as he's talking about everyone dying except Jada and set it off. And she's like, who? Jada? She died? And it's like, no, you don't really know what's going on. He's just like, oh no, I just saw Issa. We're just having a little conversation, joking about movie spoilers. And yeah, and so they're all 3 of them just sitting there like, awkward. We cannot just act like normal people. Finally, Issa's just kind of like, okay, I think I'm gonna leave now. Me, I wouldn't have left. I'm like, I'm here. Y'all can go somewhere else. But she gets up. She's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave. The guy at the food counter calls out her order. And she's like, oh, I was getting some food to go. Order here for Issa. Can you not blow my spot up, please? She grabs the entire tray, all the food out, and then walks out the door. I'm like, okay, so you gonna eat on the curb? Like, but of course, on the way out, she catches a glimpse of Condola and Lawrence, canoodling, kissing, loving up on each other. And for the most part, we've seen that Issa seems to be past Lawrence, but there's that little, we see Molly and Issa, they're at the grocery store getting ready for Thanksgiving. And they're having a little conversation. Of course, Molly is getting some avocados for a 7-layer dip. Issa's just like, do you need that many avocados for a 7-layer dip? Because avocado don't. I have certain friends that are just the corny joke friends. And it always makes me mad because it's corny, but then it also makes me mad because it's actually funny. And Issa and Molly are both kind of dealing with the awkwardness of Thanksgiving. Molly, things aren't still 100% with her dad. And then, of course, Issa has to hang with her mom's boyfriend and his kids, and she's not really feeling that. So Molly is wondering if she should invite Andrew to Thanksgiving. So Issa's kind of thinking like, maybe that's doing too much. Y'all haven't even known each other that long. You might end up running him away. Little dig there. And then of course, when Issa brings up the fact that she's trying to save money for the block party, Molly kind of like, okay, you really are doing your best to pretend like that's not, you know, messy and that's not weird. This whole throuple situation, I don't get that. And Issa's just like, I believe you were just in a throuple situation with Dro. And then Molly's like, well, at least I wasn't sleeping around for free weed and toiletries. Okay. Flag on the play. Unnecessary roughness. Shout out to a different world. All of the unspoken, uncomfortable, resentful things are coming up, so we can see that things are really going awry. Issa is kind of like, whoa, what's going on? And they both basically agree that they need to talk, and they've kind of needed to talk way before now, but their last interactions have been so awkward and they both have been so busy that they just agreed to have a conversation on Thanksgiving, and then we're gonna just put this whole thing to bed. Cool? Cool. So then we see Lawrence at Condola's house. It's pre-gaming for Friendsgiving. And Lawrence notices that her sink is broken. So he volunteers to fix it. And Condola appreciates that. But of course, Lawrence does not know how to fix a sink. And I'll be honest, I'm not a fix-it type of person. Now, I can put things together really well. I'm good at assembly. I'm good at really like building things up, especially with instructions. But I know men are supposed to be handy, but I'm not a handyman. Fix it is just not my area of expertise. It's not. And it's not Lawrence's area of expertise either, because he has to look up a rather strange video about how to fix sinks. Welcome to Fixing Sinks for Players, showing you how to lay that pipe. Now go ahead and grip your wrench real tight, because we about to bust something open. This is a really inappropriate how-to video. What's going on here? So then we see Molly at her mom's house. She's there for Thanksgiving. She sees her mom and her younger brother, who has a pregnant wife. Molly lets him know that he has about 3 months to jump ship because apparently the paternity may be in question, but Molly's brother doesn't seem to believe that. So the actor who plays Molly's younger brother, Jerome, his name is Malcolm David Kelly. You might know him from 2002's Antoine Fisher. He played the younger 7-year-old version of Antoine. You saw him in flashbacks. He also was in 2004 as You Got Served as Little Saint. And he also played Walt in Lost for several seasons. So I thought it was really cool to see that actor here. As soon as I saw his face, I was like, okay, I already know who that is. When I see an actor in something, especially when I'm younger, it's just like I never forget the person's face to an extent. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, I already know who that is. Molly also sees her dad, who offers her a Snapple. Ooh, I grew up on Snapple. Love Snapple. And I feel like, I don't know what happened to Snapple, because it feels like all the flavors I used to get when I was younger. I don't know. But I grew up on Snapple. Love Snapple. He offers her some Snapple, and she's kind of like, yeah, watching my sugar, I'm good. So Molly still, of course, is not willing to kind of make things good with her dad, which is unfortunate. We see Issa with her brother Amal. They're heading to their mom's house for Thanksgiving. When all of a sudden they see an ambulance in front of the house, they run, you know, like wondering what's going on. And then they realize it's just Stanley, their mom's boyfriend. They're not really that concerned. Stanley and slipped on some loose gravy. Don't know how that happens. Now he has to go to the hospital, and their mom, who was played by none other than Wendy Raquel Robinson, might know her from the Steve Harvey Show and The Game, is playing their mom. And their mom is just like, okay, well, we got to go to the hospital, stick around, entertain, and eat some food, blah, 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 blah. Issa and Amal, you know, stand around and think about it for maybe like a minute, and they're like, we ain't doing that. They are not trying to hang out with Stanley's twin daughters, Keisha with alopecia and Cassandra with the big tooth. They're like, we out. We jump back to Molly's house, and she's having a little conversation with her mom. Her mom, of course, like many parents, want to know, oh, who are you seeing? When am I gonna get some grandkids? Molly ends up showing her mom a picture of Andrew, and she's kind of like, oh, is he Korean? And of course, the older brother, Curtis, pops up. He grabs the phone. He looks at the picture. He's like, is he crazy and rich? Not the Crazy Rich Asians reference. So I know the whole interracial thing can kind of be like a little bit of a touchy thing when it comes to families and get-togethers. But actually the mom was just like, well, you should have brought him. I wanted to meet him and get to know him. And oh, so that wouldn't have been too much? The mom was like, well, if he's into you, it's never going to be too much. And see, that's the exact opposite of what Issa said. I kind of let you get in my head, and so now that's an opportunity that was missed. So, and then the mom was like, yeah, because look at your brothers, they don't overthink anything. And we see the women that they're with, they're just like, one of them got a baby that might not be his, the other one got on some stripper heels. The mom was like, somebody has to be the person who thinks things over because they don't. And so we see Amal and Issa later on, and they've decided on having a Mexican Thanksgiving. So they're gonna hit up a Mexican restaurant and sit down, hang out, and just kick it for Thanksgiving. But it's gonna take like an hour. So Issa texts Molly and let her know that, okay, Thanksgiving is gonna get a little crazy. I'll probably, hit you up a little later. Molly gets the text right after she takes the pie out of the oven, and she sees that Issa has texted her, and she just kind of looks at it. She's like, and she texts back, do you, girl? And I tell you, the do you thing is just never a positive thing. I can't think of what context do you would ever be positive. It's always passive aggressive, like, whatever. Like, do what you want to do. Like, feelings are being stirred up. See Lawrence and Condola at the Friendsgiving. They're having a good time. Already had some good conversation with the friends. Seems to be getting along pretty well. There's always one friend in the group who drinks way too much and just starts, just extra over the top. Don't need to be drinking anymore, but just can't help doing the most. There's a lesbian couple that's there, and they're talking about, when their wedding is going to be and where a good place to have the venue is. Condola suggests, an art gallery. We can dress it up. It'll be a good place to have it. And they're like, hey, you want to plan our wedding? She's like, no, keep me far away from all that. I don't want to be near anybody's aisle. I'm good. And so, of course, that one drunk friend also tends to be a very chatty friend. So drunk Nikki, played by Robin Thede, you might know her from a Black Lady sketch comedy show on HBO. Nikki has a little conversation with Lawrence. She basically lets him know, like, hey, after her divorce, you're basically what she needed. She needed something just casual, nothing too serious, just having a good time. Okay, that's cool, but we know that Lawrence is not looking for something casual. Lawrence has kind of been there and done that. Like, he's ran through his share of women and he's looking for something solid, but Condola doesn't seem like she's on that same page. It's kind of like they're meeting in the middle from two different places. He's transitioning from go out every night and have sex with all these women and it's one after the other, blah, 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 blah. And he's tired of that. That has kind of run its course. So now he's like, okay, I'm ready for something, monogamous. I'm ready for something solid. I'm ready to be committed. Condola, she's just come from serious, committed marriage. And that didn't work out. She's just trying to have fun and have a good time. So they seem to not really be on the same page as far as that is concerned. So Amal and Issa are still kicking it at the Mexican restaurant, and they're just talking about some of their experiences with past Thanksgivings and how things didn't really work out with their mom and dad, but how they seem to be happy in different spaces now. Amal, recalls his experiences bringing over his roommates. Issa asked him, whatever happened to some of those relationships? It was like, oh, they were trash. I just kind of got tired of having to change myself for other people. If someone wants me, they're gonna have to deal with everything I come with. And so Issa kind of hears that. She's like, She gets Molly's do you girl text, and I'm sure something in her mind starts to become very clear. Issa tells them all about the fact that she saw Lawrence and Condola together, and the fact that it did kind of bother her a little bit. It's not even just because he's in a new relationship and they're happy and all that, but it's the fact that he's a completely different person with Condola than he was with her. It's like she got the person with potential. She got the person who was a work in progress, but then everything that she poured into that 5-year relationship, Condola got to reap all the benefits of all the work that Issa put in. That's real in romantic relationships and friendships, because when I'm friends with someone, I support them, I push them, I am rooting for them, actively rooting for them. I will always do what I can to be supportive, to be in your corner, a listening ear, whatever it is. But then what happens is you get people who, maybe aren't in the best spaces, and they pour their hearts out to you, and they tell you this and they tell you that, and you give them all the support and encouragement you can give them. But then all of a sudden they kind of realize, oh, okay, now that I'm this person, I don't necessarily need you anymore. I'd be lying if I said that didn't hurt. I've had a lot of friends, once they are kind of in a good space, once they have kind of used my time, used my listening ear, used all these resources, it's kind of like they're like, okay, now I can go off with other people. Now I have my relationship. Now I have my job. And it's like they get to a place where they don't need you anymore. And I mean, literally, that's friendship or a romantic relationship. It's not a good feeling because you want to see the person grow, but no one wants to feel abandoned. No one wants to feel that they invested everything and got nothing out. Like, no one wants that. So I definitely related to that. She says it, but then she tries to kind of brush it away like, no, I don't have a right to feel like that. And I'm always like, no, you have every right to feel what you feel. Hey, that's just the truth. When you feel it, you just gotta acknowledge it. And then we see the mariachi band come in with the Mexican Thanksgiving. So I love mariachi. It's cool. Whenever I hear mariachi bands, I automatically think of Nutty Professor 2 when Sherman was doing the proposal to Janet Jackson's character Denise and him just acting a fool. Anyway, Molly is still giving her dad all this weird standoffish energy. She doesn't want to be on his team. And so her brother Curtis pulls her into the kitchen. He's just like, okay, like when are you gonna get over this whole thing with our dad? Like, what is the issue? And because we found out that the dad had previously cheated on the mom and Molly never knew that. And I understand as children, we idealize our parents. Her parents' relationship kind of shaped the way she saw relationships. So she was like, okay, this is what I want. This is the end game. This is the goal. Grew up all these years seeing them and wanting to model her marriage, relationship, whatever after that. And then to find out like, oh, so this is just like everybody else. I think that kind of disrupted her whole view of her relationships, of love, of her parents on a deeper level, which is understandable. However, the part she seems to keep brushing over is the fact that, yes, the dad did this, but the dad is also a human being who made a mistake, but who also did the work, understood what he did wrong, and from that day forward did the right thing and restored his marriage and everything it needed to be. But Molly Molly like, well, you can continue to be upset about it, but we've all moved on from it. So I mean, you can be mad, but you're gonna be mad over there by yourself. We see Lawrence and Condola after Friendsgiving. It's gone pretty well. And so he's, thankful for the invitation. Well, Condola is like, well, you kind of invited yourself. I didn't really invite you. She was glad that he came, but I think that she didn't want to feel the pressure of, hey, this is my relationship. This is who I'm with. This is who I'm committed to. But, Lawrence, that is what he wants. So to not feel like he was going to be a part of the equation, you're not going to introduce me to your friends. Like, yeah, he wasn't feeling that. And Lawrence brings up the fact that, okay, well, Nikki said I'm basically like your dude on the side. We just kick it and that's it. And she doesn't really, cop to it, but we know that's kind of the case. He also mentions the fact that, she doesn't seem to want a family, or at least, she doesn't want to get married again. And she's like, I don't. I've been divorced for 1.5 years. I don't think I want to go through that again. Now Lawrence is questioning like, okay, well, are you not over your ex? Which is shaky ground, because then Condola's like, well, if we're going to talk about exes, I should be more worried about you and your ex. If she hadn't cheated, would you have left? That's one of those what if questions that you can't really answer. We can't look into a different future and see what would have happened. But she was trying to get to the root of, how do you really feel about Issa? How important was that relationship to you? And what lingering feelings would you have, regardless of the cheating? And it may be a little bit more important than Lawrence wants to admit. It just ends with them kind of in this standoff situation in a very nice kitchen, if I do say so myself. I don't know if HGTV has made me more aware of really nice open concept kitchens, but I was just like, ooh, that kitchen was bomb. But anyway, well, Issa and Amal pull up and they have this brief little conversation before he gets out of the car. Those have been some of my best conversations, like with the street light on in the parking space. I'm about to get out and go up, and we would just sit and we would talk for like a good minute. Those have been some of my best conversations. Their mom texts them to let them know that Stanley is okay, thanking them for spending time with the family today. And for a second, they're like, ooh, well, maybe we should have stayed. Like, yeah, bump that. Like, we don't have to just do something because they say we're supposed to. Rather than put themselves in a place that they weren't really comfortable being, they were like, you know what? Let's venture out and let's do something different. And they end up having a really great time. Some great conversations, some great food. As he says that, Issa, once again, is thinking like, Really nice seeing this side of Amal and Issa. They can be so petty and so silly and so funny, but seeing the more supportive and understanding side of their relationship as siblings was really, really cool. And of course, with everything that Amal has told her, she kind of realizes that, you know what, I'm pushing myself to have this conversation with Molly, and I really don't want to. So you know what, I will catch you next time. And she texts that to Molly, and Molly just kind of sucks it up and decides to make peace with her dad. Gives him the pie. We're gonna move on, and I'm gonna be in a better space with my dad, which I thought was really cool. So little pieces of growth, step by step, brick by brick. But I think Molly is maybe having to let go of being Molly. And so, of course, throughout the episode, we've seen everyone on what looks like Instagram, enjoying Thanksgiving. Kelly and her aunts, Derek and Tiffany. You know, everyone's just, you know, been having a good time enjoying Thanksgiving with their families. And so, of course, Lawrence is scrolling through and he sees Issa having a good time with her brother, listening to the mariachi band at the Mexican restaurant. And of course, he, you know, clicks the little react button and Issa starts to text back. And when I tell you, as soon as I heard dum da 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 dum dum da 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 dum 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 da 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 dum 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 da 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 dum, I was like, no. When I tell you I like howled when Case of the X came on, I was like, how do you have a song choice that is so ingenious and so petty at the same time? It's just one of those songs that if you, as soon as you hear the beat, you know what time it is. So what does that mean? It means that things with Issa and Lawrence are not quite over. But are we really surprised? No, we're not. And so that wraps up Low-Key Thankful. I think this is actually one of the best episodes they've done. Definitely one of the best so far this season. I really enjoyed seeing the insight into their different relationships. Issa's relationship with her brother, seeing how Lawrence is handling things with Condola and her friends, seeing Molly and her family. So like seeing each of them in these social settings with people that they care about and how each of them dealt with that in a different way. And we saw a little bit of growth with some people. And so yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and I definitely look forward to seeing where things go. Issa and Lawrence, Lord. We already know what it is with them, so it's all good. So until next time, this is D, Movie Man, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.